Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
A swing and a drive to deep right, away back, goal! What? Cleveland! This is for you!
Touchdown, Ohio State. And Curry has to back off as James throws it down.
Miller's loose, spin move! Miller headed for the end zone!
Off initially, he's going to take a shot. Has some man under it. Has his man Kaiser. Perfectly thrown pass to Gordon. Touchdown, Cleveland.
All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of the Real Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Paul Jacobek, and with my co-host, Mr. Kevin Rosser. Rosser, how are we doing on February 28th, and it's 50 degrees outside?
It definitely feels like an Ohio day. You never know quite whether it's going to be another 20 degrees colder or 20 degrees warmer within the next 24 hours. So,
in the Indians' defense, I could have swore that we were going to have a actual regular season game tonight and not worrying about them playing in Arizona for spring training.
it is very depressing knowing that the actual kickoff to the Indians' regular season is still a month out.
It is far away. It is far away. But we are not actually going to be talking about the Indians today, as even though the weather wants us to talk about it, we are not going to talk about the Indians. We are actually going to jump back into some Cleveland Browns talk, a little bit of draft talk, and we're going to talk about a little bit of news around the league. As everybody knows, Mr. Kevin Rosser is absolutely in love with Lamar Jackson. And in a previous show, he did try to defend Lamar Jackson. And one of the people that Mr. Rosser likes to compare his people with is a quarterback who surprisingly, well, not to me, is now going to hit the free agent market. And with this free agent market, he is going to be joined by two quarterbacks who are also on his team. Well, Rosser, you want to tell him who it is, or do you want me to just go ahead and keep spilling out the great news to defend your argument?
Reports are indicating that the Vikings are going to go ahead and let Teddy Bridgewater
No,
enter free
not the
agency.
future Hall of Famer.
Oh, please. Your hyperbole has reached an upper echelon when it comes to the talk of these quarterbacks.
That's a big word.
I know, I'm probably not used to it.
No. Hyperextension in the knee.
Good one. Yeah, that really caught me off guard, and that definitely shows that the Vikings know even more about Bridgewater's injury situation than we as the rest of the league thought.
I do think that it is more, even though, I mean, everybody likes to joke around with players and stuff like that, but I really do think it is more about his actual knee than it is his playing career. I think his knee the guy was about to get amputated, so for him to even come back last year, it was just remarkable for him to even come back and make a run at returning. But to fully be a starter in this league, is his time up?
Maybe. It really will depend on scheme fit and who is willing to take the risk. Obviously, that won't be the Vikings.
Well, your Cleveland Browns are in the market for a quarterback.
They are, but will they be willing to take a risk on a guy not similar, like, fully, but as far as coming off that major knee injury,
right,
like a Robert Griffin III, because we saw how that experiment worked out, even though he was the last quarterback to win a game for the Browns. That fact alone scares the hell out of me.
Well, Teddy Bridgewater, if anybody actually does want him to come to Cleveland, the last year that he was healthy was it 2015?
2015.
He had a 63% passer rating, or completion rating, I should say. He threw 14 touchdowns, he had 9 picks, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns. Is he a guy that you would like to definitely see try and run this offense with the new additions to the offensive staff? You have Hugh Jackson just came out yesterday and said that he wants Josh Gordon to be Cleveland Brown for the rest of his life as long as he's in Cleveland. So Do you want to go ahead and try and throw some money at Teddy Bridgewater? Say, come to Cleveland, we'll get you a running back in this first round in the first 4 picks. Or what do you want to do here? Do you want to try and, because basically what I'm getting at here is a guy that you defended is now a free agent. Do you want to go after him? Because I don't think Kirk Cousins is on the board anymore for the Browns. I think Kirk Cousins' train has gone by, and now it's you're going out and you're finding a free agent like that, or you're drafting a guy, and I don't want to draft a guy.
I'm going to do everything I can to get Teddy Bridgewater because, like you said, the Kirk Cousins train has moved on.
Right.
But you also look at a couple of the other free agents that have been moving around a bit, talking to other different teams. What's his name? Vontae Davis?
Vontae Davis is now just signed with the Buffalo Bills last night on a 1-year deal.
Correct. And we also had Chris Ivory talk with the Browns recently, and he talked with the Bills. I think it's telling that no other, I guess you could call them notable free agents in other positions are committing to the Browns. We do have Josh Gordon. We do have a couple other guys in key positions,
right?
That make us a somewhat appealing team. I can't put the Browns anywhere near a pedestal right now, but to say that we are the worst option for a free agent quarterback, I think is unfair. That being said, the other free agent positions, if you look at how they're moving around, they're not really having Cleveland on their radar, which could detract a guy like Kirk Cousins from coming in saying, am I going to have to be the singular guy, or are other people willing to come in and help me on both sides of the ball?
Right.
So I don't believe Kirk Cousins will come to Cleveland. I don't even see Case Keenum coming to Cleveland, honestly. I think the Jets will throw a lot of money his way. I think
for Kirk Cousins.
No, for Case Keenum.
Oh, I think the Jets are going to throw a entire plane full of money at Kirk Cousins and say, "Please come here." I think that Kirk Cousins ends up in New York. I really do. It's either that or he ends up in Denver. I think if he ends up in Denver, I think Denver, you're looking at a team that could definitely, with that defense, all they need is a quarterback. Last year they had Trevor Siemian, and you give them Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders to go with a quarterback. They don't really have the run game per se that you would like to see out of Denver.
Certainly do not.
But their defense definitely is not a laughable type of defense.
No.
They are just a quarterback away because Trevor Siemian for sure is not the quarterback. He's not the quarterback in Cleveland. He's not a quarterback. He's just a backup guy. But they gave him the keys, and they thought he was going to be the guy to lead them. And now John Elway said, well, yeah, he's not the guy, and you got Von Miller and a couple other people trying to make pitches for Kirk Cousins to go there. So it's cool that the Browns were kind of in that name for Kirk Cousins. They were in the name for Alex Smith, and they've had their name kind of out there for a couple other guys. But when it all comes down to it, do you really think a Vontae Davis and, even a Kirk Cousins, do you really think that they look at the Browns and say, well, hey, if I go there, even though I think Vontae Davis can still play in this league, of course, Absolutely. But he is older. I don't think that you could sit there and say, hey, Cousins, if you go to Cleveland and I go to Cleveland too, I think that, we can kind of change this around. I think that the Browns really think that they're only a quarterback away, and I think a lot of fans think that they're only a quarterback away, where I feel like they're still a handful of players away. And the object is to not bring in players that are, brand new rookies to the league. And that's what everybody's so happy about is, well, we have these draft picks, we have these draft picks, we have these draft picks, but we don't have any veterans in positions to train people. And it's almost like one of the best things I was happy about last year was Joe Hayden got traded and got released. Well, I don't want Joe Hayden trying to be a mentor to a rookie corner, because I don't think Joe Hayden he only had a couple good years. The rest, he was just a name guy because of that. He's a huge Jordan guy. He's got his foot in the door with a lot of social media stuff, but to be the Joe Hayden that he was a couple years ago, you're just not going to see it. And a lot of people, I have a couple Steeler friends who said, well, Joe Hayden's tearing it up on the Steelers. Well, that's nice because Joe Hayden also had safeties to help him. Joe Hayden was also left on an island by himself in Cleveland and got destroyed week in and week out by Antonio Brown, by A.J. Green, by any wide receiver that has been on the football field. And it was embarrassing to watch. So it sucks because we have young guys coming in, we have nobody to teach them. But then in return, we just don't even have anybody to even sign because we're not on that brink of, well, if we sign this guy, we're a playoff team. Nope, we're not in that echelon. We're in the echelon of we still have a lot of work to do, and we don't have the time to do it because the time is now for the fans to win. The fans want to win right now, and we're not going to get a winning team for another couple of years.
No, it is completely unfair for us as a fan base, us included, to demand a playoff team.
How much?
Not even this year, but in the next, I would say maybe 2-3 years.
Do you go to games?
I haven't been to one in a couple of years, but I try to go to one at least once a year.
Do you feel like all the games that you've been to and you pay blank amount of money for these tickets, do you ever feel like your money has ever been put forward to winning? Like, do you ever feel like I'm giving this money to the Cleveland Browns to go to a game because I know that I'm watching good football? Do you feel like you're getting your money's worth either on the field or in the stadium? Because, I mean, one of the biggest things for me, and I think this is why I really like I love the Indian Stadium. I love going to the ballpark. I think the atmosphere in the stadium is great. You don't want to go to a ballpark and be bored. Mm-hmm. I don't go to Cleveland Browns games because I don't think they deserve my money. I don't think they deserve my money for the past 10 years.
My ticket money is going directly to Jimmy Haslam's lawyers. That's what it feels like. And
you feel ripped off.
As much as I derided Al Lerner for my entire life when he was owner of the Browns, and as much as I enjoyed seeing Haslam take the reins from Lerner just so that it could be somebody different, somebody who might be willing to throw around money.
Right.
The man is no Jerry Jones. You could argue Jerry Jones got lucky, yes, but the man has just been completely volatile, and it is a surprising change of pace to know that he, for some reason, still has faith in Hugh Jackson, given his track record of firing head coaches and general managers and heads of player personnel, whatever you want to call their position. The turnover for the Browns in the last 5 years has been, there's no other better word to describe it, it's been laughable, Paul.
Besides, now this is changing the subject for a quick second. Besides, actually I shouldn't even say besides, do you think, this was just a little side question, do you think that there's another person in Cleveland right now who is Al Lerner 2.0?
I don't know if you'll necessarily agree with this, but the way that he's run the Cavs, I think Dan Gilbert is he's one of the most laughable owners in sports. He has been.
I just think it's funny he tries to put himself above LeBron.
I struggle to find the words to properly describe this man. For all that he has dedicated to the city as far as, financial input into his own facilities, as much as he is a philanthropist and as much as he tries to have some goodwill with his sick son.
It's just a whole clusterfuck.
It really is. The fact that he... I can't remember the exact situation in which David Griffin left the Cavs.
Right.
But the fact that he was forced out and replaced with a puppet, for lack of a better term, we can get into the Cavs another time. Right.
Yeah, I had the same opinion. I've always kind of had that opinion. He ran LeBron out the first time, and now he's trying to run LeBron out again. And everybody knows, I know. it's going to be a long time until you find another LeBron James.
If
Ever. It's going to be a long time. And right now you're talking about if you take away that 2016 championship, the Cleveland as a whole has not won a championship since when? If you take away the 1964. And LeBron came back because he loves the city of Cleveland. He would die for the city of Cleveland. And you have an owner who has a lot of money and wants to go ahead and basically sell. He's basically trying to sell his team with a LeBron James as, well, this is my team with LeBron. I'm not just an owner. I'm also a basketball guy, and he's kind of ruining the franchise. But we're definitely going to have to save that one for another day because that's a long conversation that we can get into.
That actually leads back into my point about Jimmy Haslam.
Okay.
Because he's not trying to just be an owner and hire people under him so that they can handle day-to-day operations.
Right.
We come back around to draft talk, and remind me again, who was the biggest proponent of us drafting Johnny Manziel?
I think you know the answer.
I know the answer too, and it was Jimmy Haslam, apparently via a homeless man, but Jimmy Haslam nonetheless. And we saw how that worked out.
Ask Flying J how it worked out. Ask all those truckers who never got their rebates either.
That is a...
I mean, like I said, it's literally just a monster, like, shit show of what's going on with the front office, with Jimmy Haslam. Because I bet once Jimmy Haslam gets off a phone call with somebody, another front office guy, front office executive, he gets on the phone with a lawyer or something like that because this guy has so much shit going on right now. Mm-hmm. And, the funny thing is I hear a lot of people, and, either it's on The Fan or if it's just in interviews, with Mary Kay or whatever, but everybody keeps referring to this as Jimmy and his wife, and Jimmy and Dee Haslam, and Jimmy this, Jimmy that. Give it up with the wife shit and just take over as the damn owner or sell the fucking team. It's not about sitting here and saying, well, me and my wife. No, you're not running this as a team. You clearly cannot run shit as a team because you've ruined the entire thing of Flying J. You have all these people that are getting fired and fined and everything else, and then when they go ahead and get out of jail, they're going to have a nice private fucking island out in the Caribbean somewhere because they took the fall for you. Okay, this is more than just covering up. You have to either sell the team because this team is just absolutely unwatchable. We have one win in the last 2 damn years. You have people they had a fucking parade because we can't win games. It's embarrassing. And the thing is well, players got all sad and butthurt and, well, why? Why are the fans, celebrating us sucking? Because that was the only time that we've been happy this whole year. You get so, I go on social media, oh, well, football season's back. Oh my God, fantasy football. You ever notice that in the NFL, if you ever go to NFL.com and it tells you like what the percentage of players are that are playing on certain teams, the Cleveland Browns in the last 5 years have had the lowest amount of players in a starting lineup in fantasy football since fantasy football has been around. They don't have players they don't have players that can compete. They don't have players that can go out and put up stats. It's not watchable football. It's worse than high school football. And the sad thing is we have to sit here and watch this shit because that's what we're born to do. You're born in Northeast Ohio to watch the Cleveland Browns. Unless you were born, clearly there are definitely other people who root for other teams, Cowboys, Steelers, whatever it is. But a true Cleveland Browns fan is born in Northeast Ohio, and they are born cheering for the Cleveland Browns.
And that's why so many of our personal friends are not Browns fans, whereas say
back in the day you almost got your ass beat if you weren't a Browns fan.
Yes.
And now, oh well, you're a Steelers. Oh shit, dude. Well, lucky you. At least you get to win.
Yeah, and you will have Steelers fans or Bengals fans or random teams that aren't even in the division, let alone the conference. Saints fans, Cardinals fans, we have friends of.
We have a Steeler fan and a Dolphin fan that is the same person. That's rather interesting. Cardinals, Giants.
There needs to be a change of culture fast, which...
Well, don't you remember they did the whole thing with the uniform? It says, play like a Brown. Are you telling me they haven't been playing like a Brown? Because I could have swore that was the big thing in Cleveland was play like a Brown, and then, well, now we're here 2 years later.
What does playing like a Brown
Losing.
mean?
Because
Unfortunately, I can't argue that point.
If you're saying play like a Brown, you can also say coach like a Brown, right? So we have a head coach who had one win. He said, well, hey, our team played like a Brown. You coached like a Brown. We're giving you another year. So he goes 0-16. And we still have the same players. And they said, well, you played like a Brown and you coached like a Brown. So we're going to go ahead and give you another year.
Can you fully blame Haslam for trying to give him just one more chance? I don't 100% agree with it either, but it comes back to my point about Haslam having such a quick trigger, firing these head coaches after 1 or 2 seasons. Keep in mind, these are the 2 worst seasons in Browns history. However, I think Hugh has one more opportunity to prove himself. He will be able to coach through the whole season. Haslam won't fire him halfway through, but it's going to take a significant turnaround.
You're going to need Jesus himself to come down and try and help this.
As sad as this is to say that is significant, you need at least 6 wins, in my opinion.
To keep his job.
To keep his job, you need 6 wins. That seems plausible. Obviously, we can't, as fans, again, expect a playoff team. Or even a 500 team.
Right.
But something along the way.
You have to be smart as a fan. You can't just, I got a hunch they're going to win 10. No. You have to be smart. You have to look at the damn roster, and you have to say, these players can win blank amount of games because, like, if I said roster right now, we're going into the year, we still don't know what we have at quarterback. We don't know anything. To keep his job, you already said he needs 6 wins.
6 wins, yes.
Is Jimmy Haslam keeping him when he gets 3 wins next year? I think they're winning 3 games. I don't even know who their damn quarterback is. I'm saying they get 3 wins.
I don't think he should, but that might be enough for Haslam. I think not even necessarily wins and losses. It could come down to how did they look in games, because
they didn't look good last year.
You could maybe point to 3 games total where they looked like either A, competent football team, or B, at least a team that was going to end up winning. And then they just run out of gas.
Which game last year do you think that you were sitting there like, okay, I think they're going to win this game, and then they lost? Because I for sure knew that they were not going to beat Minnesota. I think Minnesota literally was just playing with them in the first half, and then they just walked out, and they just absolutely just bitch smacked the Browns across the field all over in London. I'm surprised they still got back into the country after what they just did to the Browns. That was ugly.
The toughest game last year and that I've ever seen in my 21 years was without a doubt the Green Bay game.
Okay.
You had a 14-point lead. I can't recall if it was in the 4th quarter. I believe.
I think it was the end of the 3rd.
End of the
3rd going into the 4th.
Into the 4th, you had a 2-touchdown lead at home against the Packers without Aaron Rodgers.
Brett Hundley.
And a bottom-tier defense. All you have to do is put together one more scoring drive and just hold on for dear life.
Run the ball. Run the ball.
You had a 7-point lead when you punt the ball away, and you allow a 45 to 50 plus yard punt return in the 4th quarter at home when you have no wins. What does that say about the mentality on that sideline that you can't rally your guys enough to be like, guys, we have him in the corner.
It's 4
we
words.
We have him up against the ropes. Finish the game.
It's 4 words. Play like a Brown. And that's all it comes down to for the end of this show. Play like a Brown, like always, for your Cleveland Browns. Rebuilding since what year?
Pretty much since they got rid of Paul Brown.
There you go.
Yeah.
We do have a nice little addition to the show. Before we go ahead and close this one out, we are now going to be installing what we are going to be calling the Rosser Rant, where your boy Kevin Rosser is going to get a quick 5 minutes. Separately, this will all be on a separate little playlist that you guys can go ahead and click on and check out, and it will be called the Rosser Rant.
Hopefully with no interruption from Paul.
No, there is no interruption. It is all just straight Rosser. It is all uncut, everything. It is just going to be whatever is on his mind on that day. And I think, if I remember right, you said it's about a little bit about NCAA football?
No,
For the first one? For the first episode?
It'll be about collegiate athletics in general.
Okay. Well, you heard it first from Mr. Kevin Rosser. So, like always, for Foisey, across the street doing whatever he is doing, and Mr. Kevin Rosser, who is sitting right beside me, we will definitely see you next time on the Real Sports Talk Show. Don't miss it.